morning, everybody. It is Clip here, and we are going to be continuing on with our lesson number 2, going through the 5 bodies that you have. In the previous videos, we already did the physical body, the do's and don'ts, or how to take care of it, and things not to do that will alter your energy and so forth. But anyway, check out that video. So today we are going to go through number 2, which is the conscious body. So what is your conscious body, and how you care for your conscious body, how you have it grow, and things to avoid that will inhibit your growth at the same time. Now, I forgot to, not that I forgot, but I was just like, you know what, normally when we are listening, when we are going through a lesson or doing things like this, we forget that we need to put things into action. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to get out your pendulum. If you have not, if you don't know what a pendulum is, or you're just like, what is she doing? Please look at my other video that I have on the site that is about pendulums, how you can program yours, what is it going to do, and everything, because this is literally your access to the truth right now. Now, as you develop your abilities, you will find that you may not need a pendulum anymore. Like, for example, I don't really need my pendulum, but I'm using it just so you guys can see that what I'm saying is valid. And if you get your pendulum too, and you ask, hey, is the lady I'm watching, is she being truthful? It's going to say yes as well, right? So it's your way of navigating what is truth and what is false in this world. And it's like a muscle, just like your regular abilities, just like your, the control you're trying to do with your energy, like how to control your own energy. It's the same thing. The more you do it, the better and stronger it gets. So I'm gonna ask you guys to get your pendulums ready, and during this lesson, use it. So if I'm saying something that may come across as a little bit confusing, I want you to pick your pendulum up. And if you're just like, I don't know if that sounds believable or whatever, use your pendulum and ask and say, hey, is what she's saying true? Or, yeah, and all that jazz. And when you get your answers, then you can proceed on with further understanding and everything. But let's start practicing. Let's start practicing and using this so you can get a good, clear connection. Okay, so when we are going on with body number 2, it is the conscious body. And like I mentioned in the kind of introductory to the lesson video, your conscious body is the body that you use to experience this world. So if your physical body is the vehicle that you use to get around in this world and experience, your conscious body is the actual body that is experiencing it, because it's what I'm using to talk to you right now. It is what you use to talk to people and communicate and understand the world. So your conscious body is literally the captain of your ship. And of course, your ship is your physical body. So if your conscious body had a position, it would be captain, the one that gives the orders and makes the decisions. So what are your your conscious body do's? Like, what do you need? What does your conscious body need in order to be healthy, to be productive, and to grow? So the first thing that your conscious body needs is, and I'm going to make sure I get this in order, is you need to be seeking knowledge, or seek new information. So why does your conscious mind need to seek new information? And the reason is just because we are creators. We are always looking to create something new, to adapt our skills, to grow. And we can't do that if we're constantly stuck in the same cycle of thinking, the same cycle of loops, basically, because a circle is not going to go on. We need to be a straight line where we're a curvy line. It doesn't matter, but we need to be a line that just keeps going. But we need new information. So a lot of the times when you find that you are stuck and you can't move on, or it's like when you have a song stuck in your head and it just keeps going loop on loop on loop on loop, and you need to listen to another song or do something else in order to break that cycle. That's what you need to do with your conscious body on a regular basis. But to do that, break those cycles, you need new information. And new information, where are you going to find new information? Well, you can look outside. So you've got the internet, books. I'm going to say programs. So subsequently TV or media. I will tell you why those are negative. I don't really like those at all. But it is still a source of new information. But there's all places you can get new information to further on whatever you are interested in or what you want to do. Number 2. After you seek information, you need to be able to process it. And in order to process it, you can't process things if your mind is absolutely everywhere thinking about a million things at once. It's just not going to work. It's like when you give your computer way too many demands. And you're just like, open my mail, open my Facebook, open the internet, open a video, I want to watch a video, take those pictures at the same time. Your computer's just going to be like, what the shit? and it's going to crash. It's going to give you a blue screen or a black screen or something like that. Your mind is exactly the same, and your conscious body needs quiet in order to process the information. So you need to be calm and meditate. Again, my spelling is terrible, so if you are I deal with words and feelings and sounds and frequencies, so my spellings looks like, nah, I can't be bothered. Anyway, I know it's something I need to work on, hence the reason why I'm bringing it up, and you're probably like, I didn't even notice. Anyway, so you need to be calm and you need to meditate. And you need to do this work your way up. If you can try for just 10 to 15 minutes a day at the beginning, but you need to be meditating for at least 30 minutes per day. Now, what are you actually trying to do when you are meditating? What is your focus? In the beginning, when you are just learning how to do this, you're trying to just think of nothing. And and some people are just like, I can think of nothing, it's fine, 30 minutes, like what? It's actually really, really hard, because your mind is right now is so used to being on all the time. I'll give you a female perspective of this, just because I am a female and that's the perspective that I have. It's like when as a lady, our minds are programmed a little bit differently. The female energy is very intuitive, so we think a lot. So let's say you're working out, right? And you're supposed to be calm and relaxed and just like, focus, doing what you're doing. However, while you're doing that, you're thinking of, where did I put my keys? Am I getting the kids from school today? What am I going to feed them? Oh, I got to go grocery shopping. Oh, that person at work was really annoying. What should I do? Like you have a million things going on in your mind, and we find it so hard to just stop thinking about it, because our mind is like a 5-year-old who's just been to the fair and had like bunches of cotton candy and candied apples and everything. And you're just like, calm down, kid. But they're like, let's do this, let's do that, let's go to the park. You want to go to bed? I don't want to go to bed, let's go. And they're like, squirrel. And that's what your mind is like. And as you know, dealing with a 5-year-old that has way too much sugar, it's not the nicest thing. It's quite exhausting. And that's what we put our minds through. And in turn, that actually affects our physical body, because if our mind's exhausted, often our minds are telling our physical body that our physical body is exhausted as well, because everything is connected. So that's why everybody, after a really hard day of just staring at the computer, you're just so tired. Although you've not been doing much physical activity, but you're just exhausted. So yes, calm, think of nothing. What I like to do, and a nice way of doing this for me, or I guess what helped me when I was starting, was to think of nothing. And because I am a cognizant, I'm always getting even more thoughts through. I'm always asking lots of questions. To help me, I literally put on instrumental music. And I like myself some jazz. And so I put on instrumental music and I listen to all the sounds. And I try to imagine that I was watching a live band. And so if I heard the drums and the snare, I'd just be like, I'd imagine the drums and the snare just beating away. And if there was a saxophone or if there was a piano, I would imagine all of these, I would imagine all of the instruments being played in a band as they were. And because my focus was on just listening to the music and staying in the moment and doing that, it allowed me to think of nothing, to the point where I could stop visualizing the instruments being played, and I could just listen to the music. And then once you just start listening to the music, or once I started listening to the music, it was easy then to just get lost in the music and calm my mind, and my mind really liked that. But I'm a musical person, so I like music. You may find that maybe listening to an audiobook, or watching maybe, or just having sounds of nature in the background, or maybe do a guided meditation. You know, you can always do that. There's loads of guided meditations on YouTube. Yeah. And again, the point is not to think of, like, when you're trying to think of nothing at the beginning, but meditation isn't, the point is not to actually think of nothing. The point is to think of what you want to think about. It is to connect with yourself. So you think of nothing at the beginning just to calm yourself. And after that, once you are calm and once you are in control of your thoughts, your mind's not getting lost in little weird thoughts here, there, and everywhere. And you're able to just be like, no, I'm telling you where I want my thoughts to go. You're not telling me. That's when you can start really thinking and really digging deep inside yourself and really understanding who you are and what this whole thing is all about. But again, you need calm and you need silence. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3. Now this one is a little bit more tricky in terms of understanding. It's very easy. It's an easy task to complete, but it's harder if you don't understand it. It can be really, really difficult if you don't actually understand it. So let's do this one. So the last one is you need to seek balance. So you need to seek balance. Now, what are you seeking balance between? Your consciousness, sorry, I probably won't ask, consciousness versus your ego. Okay, so we may be looking at, you may be like, my ego and my consciousness, aren't they exactly the same thing? How am I actually balancing them? Or why I didn't even know I needed to balance them. Well, this is gonna be a little bit of a more intrinsic one to explain. And the reason is that a lot of people don't actually understand what their ego actually is. So I'm going to try to explain this in the best way I can, or in the most simplistic way I can. Your ego, or your consciousness, is, as we mentioned, what we use to communicate with the world. Your ego is you. So if my name was Jane Doe, and everybody, I was born into it. So, let's do it this way. So your ego is what you were, the name you were given at birth in this world. So again, we'll say that my name was Jane Doe. So Jane would be the name that my parents gave me. They said, oh, this lovely little baby girl, let's name her Jane. And my last name is Doe because my parents' last name was also Doe. So I'm Jane Doe. Now Jane is a product of her environment. So, and so is your ego. Your ego is a product of your environment. So let's say if Jane was raised by, I don't need to write this part down. So if Jane was raised by Christians, then I, as Jane Doe, will no doubt be leading on the lines of a Christian lady, or have Christian faith, or that would be my religion that I know so much. Or let's say Jane Doe's parents were really, really spiritual, and I grew up with shamans and everything like that, and learned ancient geometry, dances, and so forth, and how to manipulate energy. Then I, as Jane Doe, may be, instead of being a Christian lady, I may be a spiritual guru, or not guru, but like, you never know, but that would be my bit. Or let's say I was just regular Jane, and my family just, they went to work, they came home, they did it, and then that's what I did. I would go to university and probably go get a job and work, and that would be Jane. Jane's personality, though, again, is a product of her environment. So if I was spoken to, if I was babied as a kid, as Jane, and my mom was just always on me and always picking me up and making sure that no bad things ever happened to me, or my dad too, I was daddy's girl, I may grow, my personality, the programming that has been put into Jane would be, you need to be cuddled, or I may be more dependent. Not saying that parents shouldn't give their kids love, you definitely should, sorry, but I mean, like, if Jane had parents who spoiled me rotten and didn't punish me for, and when I say punish, I mean discipline. I'm not a person to like whoosh on any human being or animal or any creature or thing. So if I didn't get a timeout for being bad, and my bad behavior was always rewarded. If I had a tantrum, and then they were just like, here, have lollipops and toys, and everything like that, and I was not taught to control my impulses, then I would be buggered. Basically, I would be buggered. I would grow up to be, so Jane would grow up to be like, hey, you need to give me stuff, because that's what makes me happy, because that's what has been programmed into me. Or I may be, or Jane may have been in a relationship. Let's fast forward now from child. Jane may be in a relationship, and I was really, really hurt in that relationship. My other half just didn't treat me very nicely and shattered my self-confidence. So me as Jane, I may be very, very vulnerable to a new relationship. I may be very just like, no, my other person hurt me, so you might hurt me, so I'm going to close my heart off to you. So that may be Jane. So you kind of get it, just life. So that is your ego. Now, your consciousness, well, no. The other part of your consciousness that you need to balance is your higher consciousness. Okay. Now, or this can also be closer to your source fractal, which we'll go through that as well, or your spirit or your heart. Now, the thing is, as you progress and when you wake up, you will shed your ego. You realize that, hey, I'm not Jane. I'm Clip. Jane is the name my parents gave me. Clip is the name I was actually born with. When my soul, Clip is who I am. This is my soul, my spirit, my heart. And we need to find balance with that, because our egos are almost polar opposite to our higher selves in a way. So for example, my ego, before I remembered who I was, because I'm a teacher. I can't help but teach. I teach everybody. When you speak to me, I will teach you something. I cannot help it. However, my ego was very much more so, I have all this knowledge, but I'm going to use it to further myself and my own purposes and so forth. And if I'm training anybody, it will be in a paid position that where you have hired me for my services, and I will teach you. So my ego was opposite of Clip, who I really am, which is like, nah, I'm going to teach you regardless of whether you want me to or not, whether you're paying me or not, I'm going to teach you. So that's a little bit of what your ego does. Or, for example, your ego is affected by the programming of this matrix, of this game. So with your experiences that you've had in life, and when you still believe you're Jane, I as Jane will believe that I am weaker. I will have more insecurities. I will have anxieties. I will have trust issues. I will have maybe relationship issues. I will have, because your ego is always looking outside to find gratification, whereas your higher consciousness is always looking at inside. So, because your higher consciousness wants to know, like, hey, if we have a problem, what's inside us that's giving us this problem? It's nobody else's fault. It's something to do with me. It's my programming that is causing my world to not be what I want it to be. So you have to find balance between these both, because you can't always look inside. You look inside to find answers, but then you need to use those answers on the outside world with it, which is with your ego. Because when people see me, they don't know I'm Clip until I tell them that I'm Clip. You know, Clip is not on my birth certificate. Jane Doe is on my birth certificate. So if I want to navigate life, I need to recognize that I'm Clip in Jane's body. Or another way to kind of go through this is, I want you to think of the world as a massive play, and a massive stage. Our world is just literally, yeah, that's terrible. I know, I'm sorry. It's so funny because, again, I was so artsy-fartsy and really, really good at art as a kid, and now that I'm Clip, I'm just like, I can't be bothered. It's crazy. Anyway, so this is our world, and it is a stage. Now, this stage is, like, in the background, when we are not incarnated yet, when we are just our pure light soul forms, we know that this is a stage, and we literally get to select which character we want to play in there. So when you go through your life and you're just like, oh, I wish I could lose some weight on my hips, or if you're a dude, you're like, oh, I wish I could be all bulky like the guys on the magazine, or why do I find it so hard to spell? You know, why do I do these things? Sorry, what did I just step onto? Okay, sorry. So why do I do these things? And it is literally, you have selected this. I don't want you to ever think that the things that are happening in your life, or what you were born with, was just given to you by some weird fate. You chose it because you chose this body, you chose this character in order to learn something from it. Because this character's life could help you learn something by going through these hardships, or these positive things, or whatnot, right? So it is a stage. Now you've selected the character that you want. Okay? And so, okay, so I'm here, and I'm gonna give myself wings, and it'll look like a chicken. So I'm like, okay, I'm over here with myself, and I'm just like, okay, you know what? I need to learn a little bit of a lesson. I need to develop my soul even more. So I'm going to go to the world stage, and I'm going to select the character Jane Doe. And when I'm born, my soul is then incarnated into the womb, into the baby that has been developed by my mother. So as I come into this world, brand new little baby, I now take on the ego as Jane. Just like if you are working in a play, and let's say you are doing Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet. I'm Jane, but I'm playing the part as Juliet. So while I am Juliet, while I'm in this play, I need to speak like Juliet, act like Juliet, oh, Romeo, and everything. But the thing is, I'm not Juliet, I'm Jane. Because when I'm finished my part as Juliet, when the play ends, I go back to being Jane. So, well, that's if Jane were Juliet. So in this instance, I am Kulipup, and I am playing the part of Jane when I incarnate into this world. But when Jane dies, I'm going to put two little X's at the eyes there, if you can even see that. When Jane dies, my consciousness wakes up and I remember that I'm Kulipup. However, what's happened this time is that I didn't have to die. I'm still playing the role of Jane, which is my ego, and Jane navigates the world, and we use that there, but with the knowledge that I am Kulipup. And I need to balance these two personas in order to accurately navigate the world. So the same way that, like, because again, we've all incarnated, or we're all Janes playing the role of Juliet, except for we woke up and we really thought we were Juliet. We just thought we were Juliet. We thought we were this Shakespearean character. And it's like, nah, we're not. We're really not. You are in a play right now. So that is what we mean by balancing your consciousness and your ego. Okay? Because when you're able, your consciousness, again, your higher self, is literally is on the frequency of love and harmony and peace and understanding and so much wisdom, so much knowledge. So the utilizing of all of this stuff, it's your conscious body is who you really are, is very, very powerful and very wonderful. But if your ego is constantly sabotaging you with anxiety, if you're choosing to just watch media and TV and everything and get negative programming, then it's like, you're not going to have a good balance. You're not going to find what you need. Okay, and lastly, going into so point number 4 is going to be, it's kind of a combination of what I've already mentioned, but just being a bit more specific. Again, you need to develop your mind like a muscle. Okay, so what you need to actually practice is your focus. Definitely a big one. Practice your focus. Practice your concentration. Visualization. And impulse control. Okay. I'll circle those instead. So first you need to develop your focus. We are often told, hey, you gotta focus, but nobody ever tells us how to actually focus. What focus actually is is the control and the direction that you take your mind to. So if you can be focused but not concentrated, or not concentrating on whatever it is. So focus and concentration, although very similar, and they work very well together, are two separate kind of things. So for example, my focus could be on, well, what's another thing? So I'm going to give an example for the average kind of individual. So let's go with love, right? My focus is on finding a partner. That is what my mind is focusing on. But I'm not concentrating on it. So I may be thinking about it all the time. So my focus, my thought, I am directing it to thinking about, I would love a partner who can share my world with me, who can build and create with me, we can have children, a solid foundation, and all that. So that's what my mind is focusing on. But I may be fixing something at the same time, or I may be running errands, going to the bank and doing things. So my concentration, I'm not concentrating on a man right now, but I'm focusing, my mind is focusing. So I could just be thinking about a dude all day, or a family, or what I need, or a lady, who knows, whatever floats your boat. I could be thinking about this all day, which is my focus, but I'm not actually concentrating on doing it. So I hope that kind of hopefully sort of made sense. Now, your concentration is when you are physically doing the act you are concentrating on, and whether that be mental concentration or physical concentration, it is when you're thinking about whatever you're thinking about, and you're also putting action behind it. And that action, so for example, when I am concentrating, so for example, my focus is on visualization, let's say. I need to practice that. So I could be like, okay, I'm going to visualize a tree. And so my focus is on a tree, and is on the thoughts of, okay, I need to think of a tree. My concentration is that I am actively building that tree in my mind, and I'm putting action behind it. And I'm not just thinking about trees and putting my focus just on trees in general, or just on visualization. I'm focusing and I'm concentrating because I'm putting action behind it. So that's concentration. Visualization. Why does your mind need visualization? Well, that's how it's how you are speaking the language as well of the universe. So you need to try to visualize, because when we have our thoughts, so I can say, I love you lip, which is my husband's, like, I love you lip, and my heart is feeling that I love you lip. But then when I also have his vision of his face and his body in my mind, it is so targeted. It is so much targeted. So now the universe has not only the thought, the feeling, and the image. Shoot, everything comes together, and that's how we achieve